So this week I thought I'd bring you to this really awkward shot. Certainly according to data from ShotScope, they say that whenever amateur golfers are within 25 to 50 yards from the green, they are struggling to get it anywhere near the flag. They're struggling with distance control, they're struggling with strike. In this video, what I thought I'd do is just show you how to get consistent strike each and every single time, show you how to control your distance. I mean, what club should you use? What type of swing should you use? I'm going to cover all of that and more in this week's video. Before I do that, look, if you're new to the channel, it's one of your first videos of mine, please consider subscribing, at least lessons like this every single week to try and help you improve your game. Plus, you never have to remember a thing, I'll always put a free download practice guide in the description box below. So the best players make this shot look really, really easy. Certainly with my amateur golfers, what you'll see is they'll hit the ground behind the golf ball, they'll top it, they'll thin it. Most of the time, it's because they have too many moving parts. Their arms are moving in and out too much, which is affecting the consistency of their arc. Their body's moving side to side. There's just too much going on. So what I've been developing over the last I suppose 12 months really, is kind of a system to help you make consistent contact time and time again. And I call it my tabletop technique. And all it does is, it's just a great simple visual. If you take a golf club and just put it out in front of you here, so that a table is almost roughly just above your belly button here. And just imagine resting the club, the whole shaft of that club, on the tabletop. Now, you'll notice here that my armpits here are fairly close to my body here. They're actually in. This is what I like to call, we're tightening the screws. We don't want these arms to be all loose, right? The screws loose, we want to bring them in. In fact, with my daughter earlier, a couple of weeks ago, I said to Ava when she was all over the place, I'll tickle your armpits. Can I, Daddy, tickle your armpits? And if I can, they're not close enough. So that was really just a simple visual for her. So bring those in, rest it on the tabletop. Then what we want to be able to do here is this. I don't want you using your wrists and your arms too much to start with. What we're going to do is I want you to imagine moving this just with your torso back along the tabletop, just like this. You can almost add some auditory to that, like you're scraping the tabletop back and through with the whole shaft. You're not lifting it, you're not moving, you're just simply keeping those shoulders all level on that tabletop. Now, all I want you to do from there is then just tilt forward to imagine the tabletop's leaned a little bit this way, and we're going to do the same again, look, backwards and forwards, and then gradually you work your way down, look, to the golf ball where we're doing the same thing, look. We're simply working the tabletop backwards here and forwards, and you're just simply swinging along the tabletop. And what do you think this is going to create in your swing? It's going to make you more consistent, isn't it? So what we want to do now is just show you how you can take this to the golf course. So all you do, you get yourself set, and we've done the motions. I get my feet roughly about maybe a couple of club widths apart. Okay, that's all you need really for pitching. Move the club down. You might even want to do a few rehearsals, yeah? So you could start here if you wanted, scrape the table, lower it down, scrape the table, and then this is crucial. When you're here, all I'm really after doing is paying attention to where that club is grounding relative to the ball. So I'll move to the side of the ball like this. Imagine the table swing back, through, 1, 2, and I'm noticing where I'm striking it. If I start striking it way behind, I'll know that something's probably off. I'm moving off the ball. So I keep swinging until I keep making a nice grounding roughly near the ball. Once you've done that, put the golf club to the ball, move that club out of the way. This wind's a little bit off the right-hand side here, so I'm going to aim slightly right of the flag. I've actually here, just to let you know as well, I've got 50 yards into the green. I'm actually using a 52-degree wedge. I could have used my 56, which I would normally do, but in this situation, I'm not going to do that because I want to create a lovely, smooth swing. I don't want to feel like I have to force it. That's when the screws come loose and we start to hit with our wrist too much, yeah? So we get ourselves set, I want a nice, smooth swing. Tighten the screws, move it in, and we'll start with that as step number 1. Nice and simple, just skip up there. Beautiful, that'll do for now. So when you're playing this shot, things to look out for, right? Because obviously there looks pretty straightforward, right? But there are things that people kind of do and fall into a trap of. So I want you to watch out for this. So let's say you know, loosening the screws. When people are here, they might start to use those wrists too much. When I see a player doing that in the backswing, so they try to do the tabletop here, but when they get here and they go, and they roll the wrist. From here, the club's coming from a wrong angle, you're gonna have to flick it. So I'll just get them to say, look, there's your tabletop, just keep it scraping, look. Keep it scraping on the arc all the way back. And now, of course, the wrists are gonna come in eventually here. They do that naturally. But the key for now is just to keep those shoulders and that club just working on that tabletop all the way back to here, and then all the way through to here. You know, one of my own personal problems sometimes is I sometimes drive my handle. So I love this, and a lot of my students love this actually, is when they're setting up here, I think, right, do you know what? Just focus on this side of the tabletop. So when you're coming through, you visualize the club and the shoulder, look, everything's turning around here versus trying to maybe lift the ball up in the air. Here, look, I'm just continuing to turn it around. You can do whatever you want. The great thing is the tabletop is such a simple image that anybody can use. So you might be asking in terms of how do you control distance, when, you know, what do you do different for chipping and maybe full swings? We'll cover that just briefly in a second. Just hit one more where I'm gonna really visualize that tabletop back, tabletop through, and away we go. Skip up. Beautiful. Okay, that's two pretty decent shots. And again, that last one I hit there, I didn't strike that perfect, but that's the whole point with this. It's because there's so little moving parts, I don't have to strike it perfect to get that ball near the flag. Now, all I would say is this. There's a limit to this. Once you get to a point, you're gonna get to a point when you're gonna feel like, oh, I need to hit this much harder. At that stage, you're moving away from the tabletop and you're going to now let those kind of wrists go a little bit to generate some speed. You might even start to generate some movement in your body. You're moving to more full swing mechanics. But with chipping, you could also apply the same thing. Look at this here. There's my tabletop. Where's the club pointing here? For pitching, just above my navel. With chipping, all you do is this, look. You just raise the tabletop. So the tabletop now is much higher. There's less hinge in those wrists now. Now look. You tip forward, you'll notice you're going to be much closer to the golf ball. I'm going to have to come down the shaft. My wrists are much straighter. And now look, now the tabletop's just right there in front of us. Yeah, and all we're doing now is we're going to make a simple chip shot. Obviously not going to go to the green on this one. And you're keeping this whole thing beautifully under control, and you can get a perfect strike time and time again. So there is nothing more complicated than that. Use the tabletop to control the arc of your swing, and you're going to start to control the strike and the distance control, and you're going to start to find this beautiful, awkward shot much more fun. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Maybe share it with a friend who you know is struggling with this distance around the greens. And of course, look, I put a free download practice guide in the description box below. If you'd love to learn more about the short game, I've put a bunker video right here and a chipping video right here. But until next week, have a wonderful golfing week.